This is your Weather Extreme video for Sunday, January the 29th. Wow, the month is just about gone. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters, and wow, confidence in our forecast is great for about 3 or 4 days, but after that, woo, models are getting into model madness. Here's a look at our Skycam network. There's a look at a beautiful sunrise as we look out from the Skycam at Hamilton High School, and certainly a beautiful morning, clear skies, and lots of sun as we look out over Gulf Shores, looking off to the west, sun rising, of course, behind us. We're dealing with high pressure, and that is going to be at the surface, and that is going to be our issue or the main feature for at least a couple of days into about midweek, and that's good. We can use some good weather across the central Alabama. In the upper atmosphere, we've got a trough carved out over the eastern half of the country, and that trough, of course, bringing us some chilly weather with temperatures dipping down into the mid-20s this morning across central Alabama. Probably not quite as cold tomorrow, but once again getting below the freezing mark. And there's a look. That red line you see there on the map is the freezing line, so lots of the country below freezing this morning. And wow, look at those temperatures up there in Canada. Still some minus 30 values, so some very cold air up there. Of course, nothing like that around here, but again, we are in the mid and upper 20s for the most part across the area. A few spots, like I see Fort Payne getting actually into the lower 20s this morning. But QPF-wise, we're going to be dealing with a front that'll be dragged into the area about midweek, Wednesday, Thursday timeframe, and that expected to bring a little bit of rain our way, but much of the rain expected to stay off to our west and our north. All right, let's take a look at the 06Z GFS model run, and going to be interspersing it a little bit with the European, and the models are just out of phase with each other. Surface high pressure Monday centered over, well, a little bit to the west of Savannah, over southeastern Georgia, and that's, of course, keeping, gosh, just about, well, 2/3 of the country in just fine weather. The only rain located in the northwestern United States. Not much changes. The high does migrate a little bit further east on Tuesday, and that, so not a lot of change. We stay in good weather, but moisture returning back into Texas. In the upper atmosphere, there's the GFS suggesting a little shortwave trough that extends from south central Canada all the way down to eastern New Mexico. And that trough, of course, responsible for a little bit of weather out ahead of it as moisture increases ahead of that trough. And we see the little front kind of dragging down across the Ohio River Valley and down into the Mid-South area. European in pretty good agreement on that, and not a lot of change between the two. And this is Wednesday, but now this is where things begin to change. The GFS suggesting that the trough will, to our west, will dig in with kind of, you see two shots there, one over northern New Mexico and one over North Dakota, and those two will combine. And so the bottom line is we've still got this, more or less, this southwesterly flow, and we've got this boundary in our area. And GFS suggesting a surface low over about, Virginia. And not the same. Surface low is much stronger on the European. Rainfall pattern not terribly different in position, but the European forecasting a good deal more wetness here than what the GFS is. Moving on to Friday, and we see that the GFS suggesting that the trough would close off. 548 closed low there coming across western Missouri. That is not at all what the European is suggesting. It's got a broad, deep trough. Position of it is not terribly out of phase, but certainly quite a different look. And at the surface, the GFS suggesting that there would be some precipitation in the form of wintry precipitation over Missouri and showers still over the southeastern U.S. When we get to Saturday, a week from yesterday, that's a very sharp trough coming through the southeastern U.S. that the GFS is suggesting, and what that means would be some colder air, which is certainly reasonable with that kind of solution. And the European is not too terribly different in the cold air. That is, it's bringing the 540 thickness line down into central Alabama. Not quite as far south as the GFS was. GFS actually bringing it down to the Gulf Coast, but certainly quite a difference in the models out at the end of the period. And then finally we get to a week from today. The GFS suggesting that we're back under a ridge with not a great deal of cold air, and that is not what the European is suggesting. If the European is right, then we're going to be in very frigid temperatures with that kind of pattern. And of course, you can see from the GFS, the 540 line way up into Pennsylvania. That is not where it would be on the European. So some model madness out at the end of the period. Not a great deal of confidence when we get past about Wednesday, Thursday. The confidence in the forecast is not very high. Now, the European doesn't go out this far, so let's just take a look very quickly at the GFS. Yesterday, we were talking about how the GFS had a trend of somewhat colder temperatures. That's gone. Are you surprised? Just something that happens with long-range forecasts. They just oscillate quite a bit. But you can see now we're still under a mild pattern. And you know, because we've been under a mild pattern so much, I'm almost inclined to say the GFS might be right here, but we'll have to just wait and see. And then finally, at the very end of the period, around the 13th of February, once again, pattern remaining very mild. But look at that closed low over Canada, central Canada. That could be suggesting, and you know, we're kind of stretching the imagination a little bit here, but that could be suggesting a very cold air outbreak for sometime around the middle or edging into the latter part of February. And we'll just have to wait and see. Well, thanks for tuning into the Weather Xtreme video. I expect James Spann to be back in the saddle once again on Monday morning with the next edition of the Weather Xtreme video. In the meantime, don't forget, Storm Alert Tour starts this coming Thursday. You get a chance to see Ashley and Charles and James at the Storm Alert Tour. We begin in Tuscaloosa at Central High School, and you can see the schedule there. Hope that you get a chance to take in one of the shows, and they all begin at 6:30, so just keep that in mind. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day, and Godspeed.
Thank you for trusting us to be your #1 source for news
in all of Central Alabama.
In back-to-back ratings periods,
more people watched ABC 3340
than any other station in Birmingham.